Plaintiff Joseph Bevin says soon after he had his first child with the defendant, the relationship fell apart because the defendant started cheating, and she admitted to it. Joseph claims they eventually divorced, and now she has a restraining order against him so he can't see his children. He's suing his ex-wife for child support and personal property. Defendant Shanna Bevins admits that she cheated on Joseph, but insists it was because he was emotionally and physically abusive. Shanna claims Joseph pulled a knife on her when she was 4 months pregnant, and she's countersuing for back child support and daycare expenses.
All right. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Well, Your Honor, Shanna and I had met on the internet, and we started dating in 2000. In 2001, we had our first child, and a little bit after our first child was born was about when our relationship started falling apart, with Shanna cheating and having affairs.
How do you know that?
She had admitted to me.
Okay.
She admitted to me every time she had cheated on me.
Every time?
Every time.
What'd she do? She'd come home after cheating and wake you up?
Well, Your Honor, she would start acting funny and whatnot, and you know, I kept asking her, and she'd have the guilt, and she would agree.
Okay.
She would admit to me.
Okay. Is this true?
It is, yes.
Any explanation?
Yeah, I mean, the physical and mental abuse that he put me through, yeah.
What type of physical abuse?
Well, when I was 4 months pregnant with my son, he threw me on the ground, pulled a knife on me, told me I wasn't going to have that baby.
Why?
It wasn't his.
Pardon me?
It wasn't his baby. We were already divorced. This was after our divorce.
That's why he did it?
He had gotten to my cell phone and saw some text messages from my unborn child's father.
And that's why he did it?
He got angry, threw me on the ground, said I wasn't going to have that baby, that he was going to take care of that right now, unbuttoned my pants, pulled a knife on me. He sat on me when I was 8 months pregnant. I ended up in the hospital on observation. So it started with the mental abuse. He was always yelling at me, cussing at me, calling me names. He had a temper. He was addicted to weed, and every time he didn't have it, he would flip out on me.
All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, it also falls back on her. You know, she's a high manipulator. She's manipulated me the whole time
How
of our
so?
relationship. Just, you know, as far as the kids, you know, if she didn't have it her way, she would hold the kids over my head and not let me see my kids. And
That's not true, Your Honor.
according as of right now, Your Honor, she has a protection order against me involving my kids because she does not agree with the fact that I'm with my current girlfriend, Heather, and she may...
You can't get a restraining order for that. You can't go to a judge and say, Judge, I want a restraining order because I don't want him with another woman.
Well, the restraining order happened after her and my current girlfriend had gotten into a fight.
Okay.
And the next thing I know, she has a protection order against me involving me and my kids.
Okay.
She has driven me into the ground for well over 2 years.
How?
Just bouncing back and forth with me and the guy that she's currently with. And I'd be vulnerable to it because I wanted nothing but to keep my family together. And so, you know, I swallowed my pride and said, okay, you know, maybe this is the real time it's going to happen. And then come to find out that she's still continuing to sleep with him.
Any comments?
Actually,
Did you put a restraining order, and if so, why?
yes, I originally placed a restraining order against Joseph in May of 2008.
Why?
He followed me home from work and trapped me in a parking lot.
Did you do that?
No, Your Honor.
You never followed her?
I've followed her.
Well, then, that's why she got the restraining order on you.
Your Honor, I didn't trap her.
He locked me in a
Whatever,
parking
you
lot.
followed her.
He got out of his car. I rolled up my windows and locked my doors. And he banged. I'm surprised he didn't break my window, calling me names and cussing at me and whatnot. So yes, he did. That's what drove me to get the protection order against him in May of 08.
I understand that.
When he dropped, he had picked up the kids for visitation in the end of February. When he had dropped them off, his girlfriend attacked me. He got in the middle of it.
Why?
Connor,
That is a lie.
That is not true.
Why?
what had happened was they were pulling down the street. They had at the time he was 5 months old, my 5-month-old son, our 7-year-old, and our 5-year-old daughter. They had their music blasting. I could hear them
That's
coming
not true, Your
from
Honor.
down the corner, from down the street. He pulled up into the driveway, honking the horn. I came out on my porch. I was like, you know, come on, bring the kids up to me. because her and I don't get along. And she actually,
So then what
I asked
happened?
him not to bring her onto the property.
Okay.
What had happened was I came out and I said, you know what, you guys have your music way too loud. You've got my 5-month-old son in that car. He's a baby. He's sensitive ears. You shouldn't be doing that. She got mad. She looked over at him and she said some words to him, got angry. And then I proceeded down to the car to get my kids away from the situation. She attacked me. He got in the middle. He pushed me and he held me back while she was swinging on me.
Before we get to the child support, and that's where we're going next, the child support and the property that you're suing for, let me hear from the witness. Come on up, ma'am. State your name.
Heather Collins.
What do you say happened?
Well, Joseph had a suspended license. He couldn't drive, so I drove him and the kids to drop him off at Shanna's. I got out and he got out to let the kids out. She comes out the house screaming and yelling, cursing about the music. And our music was not even that loud. She comes down, gets in my face, just cussing, yelling, talking about the music. And I just, I tell her, get out of my face. She's like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
Okay, so that's your opinion on
And
how...
she pushed me and I defended myself and pushed back.
This is about child support you're suing for, sir. Let's get to that.
Right, Your Honor. Well, Shanna and I had agreed beginning of this year, about in February, that if I paid Shanna $1,000, that she would write off the child support that I am back in. And when I had gotten my tax return, I had paid Shanna's mom $1,000 in cash. And Shanna's mom had told me that she would not let Shanna have the $1,000 until she has presented a receipt of the child support. Come to find out that Shanna's mom had just given Shanna's the money and she had pocketed it. And I do have an agreement stating with her handwriting stating that if you give me $1,000, I will write off the remainder of child support that you are back in.
All right. First of all, was there a child support order?
Yes, there's a child support order that's been in effect since May of 2007.
And have you been paying that?
As best to my knowledge as I can. I mean, when they first ordered the child support, I was making a lot more money than I am now.
Let me just tell you this. You all can't make a side agreement for child support if a court has stepped in and ordered it.
Right,
and
Your
I
Honor.
tell men and women this all the time. Side agreements are unenforceable in child support cases. In order to get binding child support, you must have a ruling from child support enforcement. You can try and convince the judge when you go to a child support hearing that you've been providing money. So, Judge, if you would, deduct that from the amount you're ordering me to pay. That's at the prerogative of the judge. The judge could say, no, that's not going to count toward the amount that you owe. And the monies that you gave, count them as a gift and not in exchange for what you owe in child support. So that side agreement you all made regarding child support is unenforceable. What personal property are you suing for?
Well, Your Honor, when her and I had gotten divorced, she agreed that I would keep all of the household property and she would keep the vehicle that we had purchased together.
You all making these side agreements. When you have a divorce, the judge decides who keeps what. Let me see the divorce decree.
Your Honor, and I highlighted the
So you're
portion in
saying
there about
that
possessions.
despite that you all should be allowed to go outside of what the judge ordered in terms of division of property. That's what you're saying?
Well, Your Honor, we agreed to it before the divorce was final.
Your Honor, he didn't show up for a divorce
Right,
hearing.
but the
Because
divorce,
she told me I didn't
sir,
have to
whatever you
show up.
agreed to before the divorce was final, when the divorce occurs and the decree is made, that is what is binding. Nothing that you've agreed to prior to. And in fact, you cannot make an agreement to divide assets while you're married because they're joint assets. So that agreement was unenforceable anyway.
But Your Honor, I also do have personal property with her as well, as far as like yearbooks from high school and, pictures, video games that I collect that she won't give up.
He got his video games out of storage when he got out of jail.
There's still more in there.
But his yearbooks, yes. Yes, I do have those. Everything's, it's still
Why
in
won't
storage.
you give him?
He
those
hasn't
things?
asked for them. I haven't been through my storage.
Your Honor, I've
It's
asked
been in
her
storage for
numerous
2
times,
years.
and she also agreed that.
So you agree to
He's
give him to
never
him, ma'am?
mentioned
You
about
agree to give
yearbooks.
him his personal effects
His yearbooks, yes.
in terms of his yearbooks and what
Correct.
else?
She agreed to give me all of the household items that
You're not getting any of that. We just went over that. You're getting what the judge says you get. As this divorce decree reads, each party shall have and own the personal property now in his or her possession and not otherwise mentioned herein. Anything that you all currently had in your possession, anything you had at that time, you keep. Anything you had at that time, you keep. That is what the divorce decree says.
Okay, I understand that, Your Honor, but
Let's get to your counterclaim, $3,021, child support and daycare.
Yes. Right now in the arrears, it's $1390.79, and then the interest is $29.48.
All right.
That's the arrears. Now on
Let me
here,
see that, please, the arrears. Daycare expenses.
he has a court order in our divorce decree that says that he's responsible for 50% of all work-related childcare expenses. He has never paid me a dime.
All right.
I have
How
all
much
my
do you
receipts.
estimate that to be?
The
Let's see the
total
receipt.
is $3,200. His portion would be $1,600.
Sir?
I'm sorry, that's way over line because she had her mother babysit the children. And, like I said, her and I were together off and on. So I was
And I
paid
didn't
as
account
well.
for the times
that
that
off
we were
and on,
together.
off and on, as I told you, is not enforceable under the
But
law.
I have
What
been
is
paying
enforceable is this.
But I have been paying it through her and I being together and living with each other.
I
would
got you,
pay
sir.
her
All right. You keep thinking that. You keep thinking that you are writing off your child care expenses with your performance there at the house with her.
And that's what she
You
had
keep
agreed
thinking
to.
that all you want. Obviously wasn't good enough because she's suing you now. I'm going to grant you $1,600 in daycare expenses. He was ordered by the court to pay it. Secondly, back child support. I have the arrearage here in my hand. It indicates that you have failed
gave her
to pay that
$1,000.
What about
amount.
the
No, Your
$1,000
Honor.
in cash I gave her?
I understand, but
Gave
it's
her
not
that.
reflected in this. Go through your child support agencies and not some side deal
She
to give her
manipulated me
$1,000.
into doing
If
that,
she
Your Honor.
manipulated you, I can't help it. Your claim is dismissed. Your judgment is granted. Have a good day.
I've tried to get along with him for the sake of the kids several times, but he's always got something he has to say. So, no.
I've tried over and over again. I mean, I've tried to take her back over and over again for the safety of the kids, But she backstabs me every time, just like in the courtroom today. Every time I try and take her to stand up for myself, I get knocked down, just as usual.